Hello everybody. I hope you can hear and see me well. I can see more people are joining in as well. We're going to start in just one more minute because we had quite a few people who registered, so I'm just making sure we're giving everybody a chance to join on time. Just probably one more minute and we'll start. Okay, I can see my key speakers are here, which is great. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, I hope everybody can hear me well. Please, if you can't, drop me a message in chat. But I hope it's all good. Yeah, so shall we start? I'll keep an eye on people. I think there are more people joining, so I'll be admitting them because there is a waiting room activated for this meeting. So hopefully I'll let everybody in. Okay, so once again, good afternoon and a very, very warm welcome to our online event. This is our second webinar in partnership with Russian Resources, where we try to showcase some of the most popular practice materials for GCSE and A-level Russian exams. We did our first event in August last year, and it was very well received. And I'm personally very pleased that since then, the collection of such important and I would say very UK specific materials kept growing because, and I mentioned it last time, I can see an obvious gap here in the exam preparation materials. And we now have a brand new A-level practice booklet in our collection. And so we will tell you about it during our event. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping rules. I can see, I think everybody's got their mics muted, which is great. We will have time for Q&A session at the end of the event. You can send your question via chat in Zoom, or you can just wait until we open the Q&As and then just unmute yourself, maybe even turn the camera on. It will be lovely to see you guys and ask your question by voice. So it's an hour-long event. We'll try to wrap up by 5:30 or soon after. As I said, the event, just one second, I've got more people joining in, which is great. The event is organized by European School Books, and my name is Tatiana Armory. I have been looking after the Russian catalog of books for about 15 months now, for the last 15 months. And for those of you who don't know about us, just a very quick intro about what European School Books does. We are a small UK-based company, and it's owned by a family of booksellers. The company has been around for quite some time, since 1964, and we are one of the main distributors of language learning books in the UK. And so we distribute books in the following languages. So we've got Italian, we've got French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. And of course, our distribution network is quite good, it's quite large. We partner with most of the key European and Russian publishers of language learning materials, and our customers are UK universities, language schools, colleges, libraries, as well as private tutors and private customers. And the majority of our stock is the language learning titles, but we also sell fiction and non-fiction titles in the languages I mentioned above, including the Russian language. We also run a partner program for university and colleges and schools where members, teachers and their students enjoy discounts and other benefits. And at the end of this event, I'll share all the necessary contact information just in case you find this useful. So my speakers tonight are Marina Chetinalp and Marta Tomaszewski, who are the co-founders of Russian Resources, and they're also the co-editors of the A-level booklet that we'll be introducing tonight. The booklet is focused solely on theme 4 of the A-level exam, which is the final years of the Soviet Union. And before I hand over, just one second, just wanted to show you another slide. Just making sure you can see everything properly. Just before I hand over to Marta and Marina, I would like to add that the booklet we are presenting today is the 3rd practice booklet in the A-level series by Russian Resources, and this is our best-selling series, I'd say, for our company, definitely. This time the booklet comes with a USB drive with a USB stick that contains all the audio for the listening tasks, and the recordings have been done by native speakers, and it's all very high quality recordings. So this is kind of a slightly new format, and you can see on this slide the whole lineup of the materials that we have in our catalog from Marta and Marina. So we've got some booklets on GCSE preparation, and so the 3 booklets on A-level preparation, and I'm sure Marina and Marta will tell you more, but the focus of today's event is the booklet number 3. So theme 4, the final years of the Soviet Union from 1985 till 1991. So yeah, Marina and Marta, very warm welcome to you. Take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Tatiana. I'm just going to share my screen now.
Let me stop sharing mine.
And then hopefully you'll all be able to see my screen now. So Marina and I, as Tatiana has said, are the co-directors of what is now a limited company. So although we've existed since 2018, we last year actually became a limited company as well. So I'll just stick my video on so you can see me as well. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Marina, just so that Marina can tell you a little bit about her background, and then I'll tell you a little bit about mine.
Hello, everyone. Well, a very welcome on such a nice sunny day, and thank you very much for not dashing out to enjoy the sunshine, but sitting through the presentation. I hope you'll definitely find it very useful. So as Marta's introduced me, I'm Marina Chetinalp, and I'm obviously one of the partners in our little business. And my background is solely in teaching and producing resources. So, and I'm the native speaker part of our company who takes care of generally, you know, coming up with ideas with Marta, but obviously making sure that they're all proofread and recorded to high standard. So as I said, so I'm teacher by profession, and I've had more than 20 years of teaching, solely teaching experience, and I'm still teaching in the UK in a private school. So I'm actively using our materials and trying and testing them out, as well as contributing some ideas to the overall company and resources production. Thank you, Marta.
Okay, and then just a little bit about myself. So I used to teach Russian. I was a head of Russian for over 10 years. And now I've been doing all sorts of things. I've been delivering teacher training on Russian. I've, as well as the material here, I've also worked with Hodder and Staunton on their Teach Yourself Russian series, and edited and written material for them. I'm currently actually working with the IB organisation, International Baccalaureate organisation, for a year, and after that I'm going to go back to freelancing, which mainly involves translation for me now, working for United Nations organisations and editing for them as well. So lots of different elements to my work and to Marina's work, and we are very, very pleased and very proud to introduce to you our new booklet. So the new book on theme 4 is really the result of all of you. It's for people who have supported us, who've bought our previous material, and also as soon as we've published both book 1 and book 2, we had emails saying, when's the next one coming out? So we're very pleased to be able to have book 3 out. We decided to go with theme 4, which might seem a bit odd not to start with theme 1 on the A level, but people who are teaching it or have tutoring it for a long time will know that this is the topic that students really find tricky. It's difficult to find material, and it is a difficult subject as well to cover, because it's so easy to get engrossed in it. It's so easy to go off on a tangent, and so easy to be overwhelmed just by the sheer number of different types of terminology that students will need, and their understanding of it. So we felt that this was the biggest gap in the arsenal of teachers at the moment. And we've worked very closely with Katya Baradin. So as you'll see here, we're series editors of this book. We've worked very, very closely with Katya, who's researched all the material. It's all come from sources that are detailed in the book, and with her own work as well. And we've worked very closely with her to make sure that the book not only covers all the content that's needed for the A level, but also that the structure of it very much reflects the structure of the final examination. And as well as it being a very good book for A level students, if you are somebody who tutors not only A level students, but maybe you have adult learners who have a good level of Russian and are interested in history or need a bit of a challenge, this would be perfect for them. It's also perfect for university students, especially, you know, in their first year of university studies, or, you know, if they've learned Russian ab initio at university, maybe second year, to be looking at the material here. And we have been very, very careful, as we were with the other 2 booklets, of making sure we've got a book that is here not only for learner candidates, English candidates who have no Russian background, but this is also very much suitable for heritage learners who have some knowledge of Russian from family situation, and also for native speakers who might well be native speakers but won't necessarily know all the historical information. So we've got a lot of different audiences for the book. We've been very, very careful how we've put it together. We are aware that the material in it is challenging. This is for students coming to the end of their A-level course. These are very much past papers, and the structure is very, you know, in that past paper style, sorry, and very much to prepare them for the examination. So it is a challenging book. And we will later on talk about how you can approach these challenges. But we very much want something that was going to be exhaustive in terms of the A-level. From the history perspective, it's difficult because obviously there are so many different views on this topic, and we've tried to present as much of a neutral view as we possibly can, and then students can go off and find out more information. But this is not a history course, it's a language course, so we've tried to keep it as neutral as we possibly can. Okay, so I will now hand over to Marina, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the detail of the contents of the book.
Thank you, Marta. So yes, as Marta has mentioned, we tried to cover as much material and as many aspects of this theme and topic in the history of the USSR as possible. And you would probably see from the contents that we do actually give you some help, even to start with, in our very detailed how to use this book information in the beginning of the book. And then the book itself consists of 4 different big chapters, or which each then is subdivided into 3 little chapters. The first one is the chapter that is not required for the exam. So the material there is to give a bit of a extra background information about what was happening in the USSR at that time, and what actually led to the events that would be discussed in the later 3 chapters, which are then tested in the A-level exam. The reason we've decided to include this Историческая основа sort of pre-wording chapter is because we thought that given the fact that the topic, the theme of perestroika and glasnost is so difficult, even for the native speakers who've got heritage in Russia or USSR, so they wouldn't necessarily know all the facts or all the information actually preempted the events being discussed. And as we all know, it's very important to know some background information in order to actually discuss what was happening. So we decided to choose the 3 main elements that we thought would be useful to cover for the students' general knowledge and understanding, which is Soviet leaders in general. So we cover every Soviet leader from Stalin up to Gorbachev's era. We do talk about general life and what was life like in the USSR before the 1985, because again, it gives students a very good information and knowledge about why people decided that they needed some changes within the country. And Выдающиеся личности is another good chapter, as we thought, because it actually talks a lot about certain prominent figures that preempted and perhaps even urged the events that led to the 1985 events and eventually the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. So the chapter 3 of Историческая основа chapter also covers certain peoples now in the history and in literature, which we thought would be useful for the students to know, because some of this material is covered in the literary text as well, so they do need to know it more about those people in history. And just again, so that this book is a bit more, can be used in a more general sense, as Marta pointed out, by university students, or even if students are doing their literary text, let's say on Solzhenitsyn. We did include some of the information about Solzhenitsyn in that chapter here in the Историческая основа. So that's why we thought it would be quite important to have it. However, you don't have to use it. You can completely omit it and move on straight away to Perestroika, which is chapter 2, глава 4, 5 и 6, to start covering the materials straight away. So, and Marta, can we move down the slide, please? So as you can see, so we've got the first chapter, as I said, was Perestroika, which is already covered in the A-level specification. And then the two other big chapters, which are again subdivided into little glava 3. And the way we decided to split them up is actually, it's the bullet points that are raised by they are specified and raised by A-level curriculum by edXL. So Glasnost is the next chapter, and 1991 is the last chapter. At the end of the book, we also offer you whole list, not just a list, but all of the transcripts of the audio materials that we've used, and so that you can actually have access to those for all sorts of reasons, for checking the answers or for doing some activities with your students using those scripts. And Marta will tell you a bit more about what might be an option of using those audio materials scripts later on, when we kind of give you some ideas of how we think this book will be useful for you to be used. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can now, I'll just cover how this book covers different parts of the A-level papers. So the 3 sections, the 3 papers that you've got listed there. The first one is obviously going to be the main focus for this topic, because this theme is very likely, if not inevitable, to turn up somewhere in the listening, reading and translation into English paper. So what we have done is really focus on this paper in our material. We've made sure that the listening exercises and the reading exercises that we have provided are the same style as the ones that will come up in the examination. Now, sometimes for the listening or the reading, we've provided more questions than you might get on a typical paper. So one might have one reading comprehension that's got 12 marks, and there won't ever be that many for one section of the A-level, but what we have done is made the question types exactly the same. So once students are used to these question types, this will really help them with the paper, and so they've got those exam skills there, as well as all the information. And also it's worth mentioning for the translations both into English and the ones into Russian that could include this topic, we've tried to make sure that the translation does focus to some extent on what has been in that particular chapter, but also they will overlap a lot, as they would on the exam, because it's very unlikely on the exam itself that it would just focus on one tiny element of the topic. So we've really borne this in mind and very much produce material that we think will be useful to prepare for the exam. For paper 2, which is mainly on the works of literature and the film, there is still a bit of crossover, because if, for example, you're studying Solzhenitsyn, or even with Nedelia Kak Nedelia, or if you're studying Sonsem, those texts, the students really do need to understand about the Soviet Union. So even if the timeline doesn't completely overlap, it's still very, very useful, or with Krylia as well, to understand about the Soviet Union. So there is some overlap there. There's also some overlap with the vocabulary, but the most important really is for the translation into Russian that's on that paper. If it were to be on this topic, then students will have been well prepared with this book. And then for the speaking, now we have a separate book, obviously, for speaking material, and on the speaking card, there will be cards on this topic. It is possible that this topic will be one of the 2 cards that a student can choose from. They won't see the actual card before they choose it for the exam, but they'll have a choice that might well involve this topic. Although we haven't put any practice cards in this book, because we very much focus on paper 1, it's very, very easy to formulate your own question based on the material there. And actually at the end of a chapter, just to have an overarching theme question and get them to prepare for the speaking exam there. So we didn't want to replicate too much work there, and so we haven't put any speaking questions in per se, but we have got a lot of material, and this is all the stuff that they will need to know and prepare so that they can then talk about that topic on the speaking. So how is, already Marina's talked about how each chapter matches either to a particular part on the specification, or it's an introductory chapter. We have then made the chapters as similar as possible, again, really for your ease, for ease of teachers, so that you can get round the book very quickly and know what's expected there. It might not be the most exciting layout, but it's the most useful, we felt, layout for teachers and for tutors. So each book starts with a vocab section, and there it might be that you are going to have to match up, or a student has to match up Russian terms with a Russian definition, or it might be Russian and English. And we've really thought very carefully about the vocabulary there, what they need to know about the different themes. Then it goes into 2 reading texts, and the texts are followed by different question types. And the listening comprehension after that, again, will have different question types. There are a couple of exercises in the book that I think Marina will touch on that don't fall into this pattern of being something that's there for exactly like it would be in the exam, but it's very obvious where this happens, and those exercises are in addition to these 2 reading texts with questions, 2 listening comprehension exercises. So there's plenty of material to prepare your students, and that happens, that pattern, even in the introductory chapters. But then 4 to 12, which is the main body of the book, you also will have always a translation at the end, either into or out of Russian, and this vocabulary section that Marina will talk about in more detail. This section is somewhere where really students can write their notes about a concept, and you know, I'll talk about that a little bit more when we look at an example of that, of why we've included different types of vocabulary sections. And we have tried to keep to the different subtopics, but obviously there is a lot of overlap. So it's up to you whether you do the book sequentially or not, but you don't have to. You can easily jump around the chapters, because no chapter assumes knowledge from another chapter. So it really is for you to pick and mix. So I'm just going to jump now to show you a little bit of the sample material, and then hand back to Marina, because I think she's just been indisposed.
I'm fine, Marta. I'm here. I'm here.
All right. Okay. I'll pass to Marina in that case. Okay. So Marina's now going to talk to you about chapters 1 to 3.
Thank you, Marta. Okay. So as we already mentioned, that with the first 3 chapters, we've tried to include some of the no, Marta, can we go back? Yeah, to that one. Thank you. To the materials that would give students just a bit extra background information, and also would be useful and challenging for native speakers or heritage learners, because they might be the ones who actually will plow or go through the materials much quicker, or even if you have more advanced learners in your groups or your classes. Again, this is something that you can use to differentiate for the top students, to challenge them a little bit, to give them extra reading to do. But again, it might be very good piece of information to be using with your private adult learners, post-GCSE, who are just learning a language and want to learn a bit more about Russian studies in general, or university students who again are doing perhaps Russian studies. and language, or just Russian studies in the language itself. So this is just an example of the text. As I said, we try to select the prominent people who would leave a print on the events that happened between 1985 and 1991, and that would relate again to their perhaps other papers as well that would be helpful. So we did take a lot of care about choosing who we would like to introduce in these three first initial chapters. So this is an extra, this is a full text, so that's why it looks a bit dense, but obviously it doesn't look as dense on a paper. It will have, as you can see from the task, it will have multiple, this is not multiple choice question, this is the one that has answers that you actually have to produce and find from the text. And on the next slide, I'm just going to show you an example of the vocabulary lists or exercises that Marta touched on a little bit. So this is again an extract from chapter 3, which talks about Sakharov, for example. So the students were given the English words, and they need to either find them in the dictionary, or you know, if they probably know, if it's heritage learners, they might actually have some understanding and some ideas about it. However, what we do encourage here as well is always to look for cognitive notions, not just give a definition, but actually make sure that they understand, particularly with item number 3, for example, or item number 7. So so I think it would be good to encourage them not just to kind of give a direct translation into Russian, but look for their fuller definition and explanation of those words. And again, as Marta mentioned, that some of these words will definitely cross over, not just within theme 4, and hence this book itself, but it would be useful in your preparation for literary texts, for instance, if you were to choose Solzhenitsyn or Utomlёnные солнцем by Mikhalkov, or Krylya, or any other, or Nedelya как неделя. So anything that covers the topic of the USSR and the Soviet period. And I'm not going to show you the text 2 on Solzhenitsyn, but just to give you an idea that another outstanding person in history and literature, which we are presenting in this book, is Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And again, the reason we chose him because it also cross-references with the literary works, and some of the information there will be quite useful for both the film and the book. Yes, and so I'm not showing you the text, but on the other hand, I'm actually showing you a little sample of types of question that we've prepared for Solzhenitsyn text. So that would be a 4-mark question, so with 4 different questions, and it's a multiple choice type of an exercise. Again, as Marta said, the tasks are fully representative of what sort of tasks they would be dealing with in the actual A-level exam. So another point that we already mentioned is the translation. And again, this is just an extract from a longer translation. And as you can see, that the vocabulary we are trying to use, so the way we selected the text and then sort of abridged them and simplified them, but then tried to keep the essence and the vocabulary in, is that it does look very hard, but that's what sometimes, or most of the times, the translation texts are like for A-level. And the length, again, it might be excessive, but so again, you might want to use the whole one for a stronger class, or perhaps like we've just done here, this is just an extract from a a bit of a longer translation, so you can just probably look where it logically ends, and maybe for weaker learners or for ones who are working a bit slower, select a particular part. Okay, so yes, so another feature that we've introduced in this book is second vocabulary section. And that deals, so just to mention before I move on to this one, so the vocabulary lists we've selected are based on the principle that they're not vocabulary from a particular reading text or a particular listening text, but rather the vocabulary that covers the whole more sort of vocabulary needed or necessary for discussion of that particular glava in the overall big chapter, if it makes sense. If not, you could ask definitely those questions. So that means that if you think that your students need a bit more vocabulary scaffolding or more vocabulary work with a particular reading or listening text, you're welcome to do so. Then there's another exercise that you can actually be doing in your lessons, because I'm sure there will be some vocabulary that students, including the heritage learners and native speakers, will be struggling with. So back to Lexica 2. So another type of exercise we're asking them to do is finding an English, obviously, definition, but not just a direct translation, as we said, but we want them to actually have the cognate of that particular word, because as you can see from this particular list, that some of the vocabulary here is not about how you can actually translate it, but what it actually means and how we can use it. So that's why we've included this section of full definition. So be it in English, but they have to explain what they think that word means and how they can use it. Thank you. So another example of the similar Lexica 2 vocabulary exercise is when we've actually given them the Russian words. I'm not showing them here just for the sake of not having it too congested on the slide, but we've selected very carefully some of the vocabulary which they might find quite difficult to understand just from direct translation or using Google Translate. And we've actually provided them with alternatives in Russian. So they just need to actually not match what it is, but provide examples which are in the box given of what it means or what it is законодательная власть, what it is исполнительная власть, and what it is судебная власть. And then they can have a discussion again about what it actually means in terms of the political regime and political structure of the country. I've used these activities, but so again, Lexica 2 is something we advise perhaps to use as a differentiation to challenge your students, because this is not something that they must know for A-level Edexcel specification. But again, it's a good extra information for them, a good extra exercise, and it's something that they will definitely find useful. I've used these exercises with my own heritage and native learners type of students, and believe me, they found it quite tricky but interesting because it actually challenged them. And just to kind of round off in general, because again, I'm taking a stance mainly here, how you could actually use it, particularly if you're a private tutor with somebody who's got, who's coming from a Russian speaking family or half Russian speaking family. So as I said, all of these exercises have been tested and tried, and my students have found them really engaging and really interesting because they actually, it wasn't just something, oh yes, we read it, we practiced the exam paper, but we know all about it. They actually found a lot of information in these texts and audio transcripts, which they had no clue about. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm now just going to share some more sample material, and these are some sample pages that we've made available and just come from different parts of the book. What I want to talk about are a few ideas. As Marina said in the introduction, we've given some scaffolding ideas, what you can do just to make some of this a bit more accessible to students, because we appreciate when they first start with this topic, they are going to find it very challenging, a lot of them, especially if they're learner candidates. And then slowly they will build their confidence. So what else can we do to help them build their confidence? I'm aware I'm talking to a wide audience, so some people will be very familiar with the things I talk about, and I apologize for that. But for example, with this first exercise, when they're trying to work out these pairs, quite often they're just overwhelmed to start with how they're going to match it up. Making them just read it out loud to start with really helps, because they will recognize some words as being cognates, or if they're native speakers, heritage learners, just saying out loud quite often means they then hear what the word means. They recognize it a lot more easily that way. And then once they've done this definition exercise, it's really important that this isn't then just left to one side, that they then do something with this information. It might be that they just jot down the definitions for themselves. It might be though that they put it in something like a Quizlet. So Quizlet, fantastic tool. There's a lot of similar tools where they then have virtual flashcards that they can use on a computer or even on their phone. And also an exercise like this one, yes, they've got the definition, yes, they've got the Russian, but they haven't got the English. So an easy task here is then, once they've done this in the classroom, paired it all up, you've discussed it, you've discussed the concepts, then they have to find an English definition. And also, I think it's very important to encourage them to use dictionaries. Can't use the dictionary in the exam, but still those skills are so important. So for them to use dictionaries in the classroom with you there, just to get used to finding the definitions and then being able to match them up. As Marina said, these exercises that we've got at the end vocabulary, where they write their own definition, is so important for them to understand these concepts. But if you're somebody who's dealing with a mixed group where there are different levels, not only of the language, maybe you've got native speakers or heritage learners with learner candidates, you'll also have a mixture of historical knowledge. If a student is studying history for A-level and this is one of their topics, it's very likely they'll be able to come up with a really good definition, but not that the Russian might not be as easy for them. So it's really making sure you use all that knowledge in the room. And also, if they're struggling to think of a definition, I always used to say to them, right, try and think to explain this to somebody. Say they were coming up with a definition, they wanted to write something in Russian. Keep it really, really, really simple words, but you're explaining this to somebody who's maybe 6 or 7 who's Russian. So you're going to use nice simple vocabulary and really simplify the idea, but it's still got to flow well. If they're writing everything here in English for their definitions, they're explaining it to one of their friends who has no knowledge of history or Russian, and seeing how effective those definitions are. That could even be part of their homework to do that, to try it out on somebody. For the listening exercises, I think we always have to, we cannot overestimate how important it is to give them the skills really to understand how to use what information they've been given here in the question. So it's really important that before you go anywhere near them answering these questions, that they have tackled what the question is actually asking them to do. Now, this first type of question where they have to write a summary, it's the last question normally on the exam paper for the listening, and it is a tricky concept to try and write a summary of what's being said. So there's lots of different ways of scaffolding it. It could be the first couple of times you do this exercise, this type of exercise, I would strongly recommend doing it as a reading exercise first, getting them to look at the transcript, trying to understand it, and then them listening to it and trying to write a summary from that. Another way of doing even this type of exercise, and particularly the lower type of exercise, the comprehension exercise, is for them to predict what they think the answer will be, because it's much easier with the listening to listen out for what you think the answer might be, and it either confirms what you thought, or you think, oh no, actually it was something else, rather than starting from nothing. And they've already then had the thought process of, right, what are the possible answers, really focuses them in. Important to remember as well, what we've done with exercises, both for the reading and the listening, we always go through it consecutively. So if you find that an exercise is just a bit too much to start with and you want to break it down, you can easily do that. You can have a look at the transcript of the reading text, and if you know that the answer to question 4 is at the end of paragraph 2, you can be confident that if you just ask them to look at paragraphs 1 and 2, they'll be able to answer all 4 questions. They never have to look at the text as a whole, and even for these summaries, the information comes in order, so I think that's really helpful. And for listening exercises, it's also really helpful to get them to think. I know that this is very obvious, but always for them to think about how many marks have been assigned to that question for how much information they need to give. And I'm aware we haven't got a huge amount of time, so I'm rushing through this, but I will just show you down at the bottom what a typical reading comprehension will look like in the book. Now, a student coming across this for the first time, especially if they are a learner candidate, might find this a bit overwhelming, and what's quite tempting is to ask them to look for the words they don't know. But I actually found when I was teaching, very often for students, it's actually really good for them to highlight or underline the words that they do know, because they'll do that the first time and then you'll say, no, right, read that out now. Oh no, you do know that word, that does sound like the English word, and they will find more and more words that they do know, and then they can see where the holes are. They might be able to guess some from the context, and for other ones they might then know what to ask you, and then you might just say, okay, you can only ask me for so many words, really to get them to focus in on what's important. And also, they don't have to understand every single word of every text. We are preparing them for the exam, where part of the skill is reading for gist and being able to extract the information. So for an exercise like this, don't necessarily start with them reading the text. Get them to read the questions first, and then once they've read the questions and understood that, and that might take a while for them to understand all the questions there, or all the possible statements and find out if they're true or false. After they've done that, then get them to highlight in the text where they think the answer is going to be. Where are there similar words in the text? Again, remembering that everything's going to be consecutive. And then they can start working out if they think it's true or not. Some of them are going to be very easy for them to work out if it's true or not, and then they might be left with a couple of difficult ones. And then after that, they could then go back and look at the text in more detail. Also, if you're somebody who's teaching heritage students or native speakers who understand brilliantly, who speak brilliantly, but whose written Russian maybe is not as strong as it could be because they're not in the Russian education system anymore, and that's something that maybe has been left to one side. Think of this also as a fantastic opportunity. They might have read it through, worked out the comprehension very quickly, but they've got a good solid piece of writing here for them to be able to do some analysis on it. You might be able to, for example, ask them to find all the infinitives, ask them to why this has got this ending on. It's all those little things we see so often, the little mistakes they'll make where they will confuse the third person plural or singular verb with the infinitive because they haven't they have or they haven't added in the soft sign. Or you could extract a sentence from here, write a similar sentence which has got the common mistakes they make, ask them which is the correct one and why is it that sentence. So I think there's so many ways you can use our material. And then I've just got a final slide to go back to, which is to say that as well as all the work we've done on this book, sorry, I shall just get there, my mouse is playing up. We are very pleased to say that we have already started working. Oh gosh, sorry. We have started working already with Katya, who was the author with us of this book, on a book on theme 3 on Moscow. Well, it's Moskva ili St. Petersburg on the A-level specification, but here we will be discussing both Moscow and St. Petersburg, and looking at that theme 3 in a very, very similar format to this book. Won't be as dense because there's not so many concepts and so much language that they have to understand. But again, we will make sure that it's very similar to the setup for the exam, and we will also be preparing audio material. So I will stop there and hand back over to Tatiana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. That's very informative. I just would like to ask the audience if there are any questions, and you can ask your questions either in English or in Russian. It doesn't matter. You can drop us a message in chat or just unmute your mics and go for it.
I was just wondering when you'll send us the slides.
I will send, which slides do you mean? So I will send the slides that I was showing in the beginning with all the information after the event, and there will be also a recording available of this event. I will send the link to the video as well.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Or comments maybe, Tatiana?
Comments? Yeah, well, comments as well, yeah. If not, or if maybe people are thinking, I just wanted very quickly to show you this slide once again. This is something I've mentioned earlier on, that Marina and Marta have been authors and co-editors and publishers of quite a fantastic lineup of GCSE and A-level preparation materials that European School Books distribute. So we've got 2 material on GCSE preparation, and you can see them on the slide here. I just would like to point out that the material that is called Na start vнимание marsh is supplied as in a digital format, so it's not an actual book. It's a PDF download, and it comes with MP3 files as well. And then on the other side of this slide, you can see the 3 booklets that Marta and Marina mentioned earlier on. So we have preparation material for the speaking exam. We have literature and film analysis, and the one that we were talking about today, theme 4. And so just going back to the audience, any questions? I can see something. Yeah, well, I can see there lots of thank yous, which is very, very nice. Thank you, guys. I just want to very quickly let you know.
Oh, Tatiana, I think there's a bit of a question there about Edexcel and Pearson. About Edexcel and Pearson.
Yeah, shall I take that question? Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, Marta, please.
yeah, they are, and I'm sorry if I've mentioned both Edexcel and Pearson. Edexcel is part of Pearson, but I think now it has all rebranded, so it is now mainly referred to as Pearson. So that's my mistake. It is the same exam board. It is the same company.
Okay.
I've been looking on your website and I couldn't find the book.
Okay, so let me just take you through, let me answer this. It's the book can be found, let me go up. It is slightly tricky, our website, so you can go to the Russian to our Russian language website. We have a page, well, we have not a page, a website specifically dedicated to our Russian language titles, and it's called russianbookshop.co.uk. You can enter the following code if it's easier. I'll show you in a second. The code is 41398 in the search window of the home page. That's probably the easiest way to locate the book, or you can just, it's actually, if you scroll down on the home page, there is the whole collection of GSC materials and A-level materials, and this booklet is there as well. But if you just want to enter 41398 in the search, you will be able to find the book. It will take you straight there. I also just wanted to quickly tell you how to order this. So you can order online from the website I've just mentioned, or there is the European bookshop.com website as well, but the Russian bookshop.co.uk, that's specifically for our Russian catalog. Usually all the titles we have in stock, they're being dispatched out of our warehouse in Chetinalp within the 24 hours. And if the title is not in stock, and this is not, I'm not talking about this specific booklets, just generally, if the titles are not in stock, they are ordered on demand from our suppliers. Members of our partner program are entitled to discounts and other benefits, something I mentioned earlier on. And if you need help with your order, you can always contact us, our customer services. It's direct@esb.co.uk, or you can also email our Russian language specialist at the email address which you can see on the screen, which is mku@esb.co.uk. And maybe now it's a good time to kind of introduce the Russian language specialist, which has been with the company for quite a few years, but was on maternity for the last 15 months. Her name is Masha Kulikova. Masha, if you could just say very quickly hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I'm not sure if we can see you. Yeah. So yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's really lovely. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Marta, Marina, nice to see you. Thank you, ladies. Yes, so I look forward to working with you all again. And obviously, when I went on maternity, life was still normal. We could do the actual events. That's when I met Marina and Marta, but hopefully we'll do it again. But in the meantime, we'll be doing the webinars like today. It was great. Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, ladies.
Okay.
So I'm here.
Thank you, Masha. So yeah, so Masha is the main point of contact for everything related to the Russian language titles and the literature in the Russian language. So just last call for questions. I can see there is something in chat. Okay, so lots of thank yous. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you everybody who joined today. So Marina and Marta, is there anything you would like to add, or shall we wrap up?
I think the only thing is just to say thank you very much, Tatiana, for all your hard work putting this together and for your support of us, and the fact that, you know, European School Books support of us has meant that we can then produce more books. So we've been very, very grateful to you and to Masha, and we're looking forward to working with Masha again. And thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll definitely miss you all. But enjoy, all the best with everybody preparing your students for the exams. I wish you all the best. For teachers, we'll look forward to helping you. Well, I'm not going to be with the company soon, but Masha certainly is here to take over. Yeah, so thank you very much. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the nice weather. Happy Easter, it's coming up soon. And if you have any questions, please do get in touch. It will be lovely to hear back from you. And as I said, I'll share all the materials and all the link to the video as well. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.